In the vast and fierce Atlantic Ocean, where the waves roll day and night without stopping, modern tuna fishing boats still silently roam, carrying the aspirations and courage of veteran fishermen. They do not use nets to collect the entire school of fish, but choose a traditional but challenging method, catching tuna with long lines. This is an art, a battle of wits between humans and the largest fish in the oceans. Long lines, also known as long lines, are long main lines that can stretch up to tens of kilometers, on which are attached thousands of short lines with baited hooks. The bait is usually small, live fish such as herring, sardines or squid, skillfully hooked to maintain natural underwater movement. Fishing boats will use GPS to determine the area where the tuna school moves based on ocean current maps, sea temperature and many years of experience. Then, at dawn or near dusk, the crew begins to cast the lines. The line is slowly released. Each hook sinks to the middle water level, where tuna often hunts. This process can last for hours, even half a day. After releasing, the boat slows down or drifts. The fishermen take turns keeping watch, monitoring every unusual movement on the fishing line. Every time there is a strong jerk, a tuna is hooked. However, pulling the tuna up is not easy. Bluefin tuna can weigh up to several hundred kilograms. With extraordinary strength and endurance, fishermen must coordinate rhythmically, using their hands or a reel to slowly pull the fish up, avoiding letting it struggle too much, leading to broken lines or crushed meat, reducing the quality of the product. When the fish rises to the surface, a fisherman uses a hook or rope to secure tail and brings the fish to the deck. Immediately, the fish is processed quickly, bleeding, deep freezing to keep it fresh. This process must take place urgently because tuna meat spoils easily if left in hot air for a long time. Sometimes, giant predators such as sharks or swordfish also appear, competing for the spoils, making the hunt even more difficult. Longline fishing not only helps to select target fish, minimizing the risk of catching unwanted species, but also maintains the quality of the fish meat, without being crushed like when using a trawl. However, it requires time, effort and extraordinary endurance from the crew. There are days when the crew drifts for a whole week without catching anything, and sometimes in just one night, they catch a ton of precious bluefin tuna. Each fishing trip is a gamble between man and the sea. When the ship returns to port, the heavy boxes of tuna are loaded onto refrigerated trucks, transported directly to factories or international auctions. Atlantic bluefin tuna, if of sashimi quality, can be sold for tens of thousands of dollars each, especially those with rich, bright red meat and lots of marbled fat. It is a worthy reward for all the hardships in the ocean. But behind that glory are days and nights struggling with the wind and waves, restless sleep during shifts, hands roughened by fishing lines and salt water, and eyes darting around following each small buoy on the water surface. Fishing for tuna with long lines is not just a job. It is life, passion and also the courage of people who live with the sea. blend into the sea and challenge the sea to bring back treasures from the ocean floor during the days at sea. The crew faced countless challenges. Big waves could be several meters high. Strong winds made the ship sway. And maintaining balance while working on the deck became a constant battle. Every time they cast the line, there was a risk. The line could get tangled, the hook could get caught in the equipment, or even an accident could happen if they were suddenly pulled back by a giant struggling tuna. The sailors had to work in a state of constant tension, sometimes in complete darkness, with only the spotlight from the deck illuminating each hand, each line, each bait hook trembling in the cold wind. The cold in the middle of the Atlantic penetrated to the bones, especially at night, when the sea breeze blew across the wet deck. However, no one complained, because they understood that every moment at sea was a vital link that determined the success of the whole trip. When dawn breaks, white buoys looming in the water are a sign that the fishing line is ready to be pulled up. This is the most difficult moment. Pulling up dozens of kilometers of line requires the whole team to coordinate closely. From the person standing at the reel station, the person observing the buoy, the person preparing the fishing tools, to the person handling the fish after it is brought up on deck. Every time a fish is found hooked, the ship will slow down. The whole team rushes into work at a dizzying speed to both hold the fish and not slow down the line pulling process. If they encounter a tuna that is too large, they even have to use auxiliary equipment such as a small crane or hydraulic winch to pull it out of the water. A swing of the tuna's tail can also injure people if they are not careful. In some cases, the tuna has not yet been brought up before the shark bites off the body, leaving only the hooked head on the hook, making all the effort go to waste. However, that is part of the harsh game that fishermen are forced to accept. In addition to skills and experience, each fishing trip also requires meticulous calculation of time and fishing area. Tuna migrate seasonally. They prefer warm water and areas with abundant natural bait. Fleets often use modern technology such as sonar, satellite positioning devices, and even real-time satellite data to determine suitable ocean currents and temperature zones. Seemingly invisible factors such as water depth, dissolved oxygen, and sunlight also affect the possibility of success. Sometimes they have to travel hundreds of nautical miles just to reach a potential fishing spot, which has been recorded as a migration corridor for the rare bluefin tuna. After reeling in, the fish are sorted on deck, weighed, and the quality of the meat is assessed based on the brightness, elasticity, and color of the muscle fibers. Those that meet the standards are barcoded and put in a deep freezer at -60 degrees Celsius to maintain their freshness. Preparing for the journey back to the mainland, there are lucky fleets that, in just a few days, have caught dozens of grade A bluefin tuna, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But there are also empty-handed trips. when all the fishing lines are empty or the fish caught are not up to standard. However, no one gives up the job, because the love for the sea and the passion for each pull of the line have long been ingrained in their blood. For many fishermen, tuna is not only a precious product but also a symbol of resilience, strength and an indomitable spirit before nature. Longline fishing is a journey that is both quiet and intense, requiring intelligence, perseverance and absolute coordination between people and technology, between courage and patience. That is how people survive and win in the vast ocean. Where only the brave and dedicated can reap worthy results, each long-line tuna fishing trip usually lasts from a few days to a few weeks, depending on the distance traveled, the amount of fish caught, and the weather. The crew lives right on the boat in a cramped, uncomfortable space, with meals sometimes consisting of just a few slices of cold bread and some dried fish. But everyone considers this normal. The fishermen are all too familiar with the roar of the engine day and night, with the sound of cables screeching through pulleys, the sound of waves crashing against the side of the boat, and the characteristic fishy smell of fresh fish and oil. They live in the middle of the ocean like lonely warriors, but are proud to be contributing to bringing back the most precious products from nature. In the control room, the captain never takes his eyes off the navigation map and radar screen. Every decision about direction, time to drop the line, or stop to rest affects the whole trip. Many times, he had to make a difficult choice between continuing to search for fish in bad weather conditions or returning home without enough catch. One mistake could mean the loss of the whole catch, so only experienced and cool-headed people could sit firmly behind the wheel in the storm. Below deck, rough, sunburned hands continued to check each spool of line, change bait, fix hooks, remove fish and pack them. Each step required meticulousness and caution, because a single wrong link could lead to great damage. Long fishing lines sometimes broke due to pressure or got tangled on the seabed, forcing fishermen to untangle them for hours under the scorching sun or pouring rain. At those times, team spirit was the most solid support. No one complained. No one refused to help each other. Because they understood that only solidarity could help them stand firm against the harshness of the sea. There is a quiet pride in every tired eye when the first tuna is pulled up on deck, eyes that sparkle with joy, like a feat in the vast ocean. And when the last big catch is put into the cold storage, the ship quietly turns its bow towards the mainland, carrying with it a treasure that has just been snatched from the ocean floor. Those fish will become the ingredients for expensive sushi in luxury restaurants in Tokyo, Paris or New York, and few people know that behind each slice of fresh red meat are drops of sweat, tears, and even blood of the fishermen of the Atlantic Sea. Arriving at the port, the ship is pulled into the unloading area, where the logistics team is waiting to inspect and transport the fish. The fish are weighed, photographed, graded for quality and sometimes auctioned on the spot. Those that meet the highest quality standards are packed in styrofoam boxes. covered with dry ice and transported by plane to famous fish markets such as Tsukiji in Japan, or to the transit warehouses of high-end restaurants around the world. Each grade A tuna can cost tens of thousands of dollars, even hundreds of thousands if it reaches a special size and has a high fat content. That is a considerable amount of income, enough to cover fuel, food, boat maintenance costs and the efforts of the whole team during many days and nights of hard work. However, not every trip is successful. Sometimes the whole boat only catches a few fish. Sometimes the hooked fish are destroyed by sharks. Or there is a storm midway and they have to return early. Tuna fishermen always live in a precarious situation, between glory and loss, between the tolerant and fierce sea. But they are not discouraged, because they know that the sea is always there. And as long as there is faith and courage, tomorrow can be a big day. In an era of technological development and the global seafood industry is increasingly strict about conservation and traceability, longline tuna fishing must also adapt. Modern fleets now attach GPS chips to each fish, record fishing coordinates, use environmentally friendly hooks, and even have underwater cameras to record hunting activities. Some places also apply QR codes for traceability, allowing customers to know exactly where the fish they are eating was caught, on what day, and by which boat. This is a sustainable development trend that traditional fishermen are gradually approaching to continue to survive and preserve their ancestors' fishing profession. Yet, behind all the technological advances and million-dollar contracts, the most important thing is still the people, the fishermen who live and die with the sea. With each long fishing line swinging in the cold ocean, without them, no one would dare to go out to sea in the stormy winter months. No one would patiently cast each hook for hours in the headwind. And no one would understand the deadly silence of the sea as well as they do what awaits below. They do not need praise or a stage of honor. Just that each return trip is a full catch of fish. That their families are still waiting at the port. That the ship does not encounter trouble in the middle of the ocean. The moment the ship docks, the siren sounds as if to signal a successful journey. On the deck are the large bodies of tuna neatly arranged. The sailors' eyes sparkle with fatigue mixed with joy. Calloused hands begin to wash the deck, drain the water, preparing for the next trip after only a few short days of rest. None of them thought of stopping, because for them, the sea is home, and each fishing line is the rhythm of life. Some of them followed their fathers to the sea when they were 10 years old, growing up with the waves and wind, and then continuing to pass on valuable experience to the next generation. They remember clearly the waters where tuna often pass, the days when the clear blue sea signaled the fish migration, and the encounters with sharks that left them with nothing. It is no longer a skill, but an intuition, an instinct that has been honed over the years, through collisions and losses. In their eyes, each fish caught is not just a profit but also a trophy. That trophy is not simply from strength or agility, but from perseverance, indomitable spirit and respect for nature. They do not kill indiscriminately, do not greedily overfish, because they understand that if the ocean dries up, they themselves cannot survive. Many fleets have proactively limited the number of fish they catch each day. only catching adult fish, releasing juveniles or non-target species, contributing to the conservation of marine ecology to the best of their ability. They are the guards for the sustainability of the fishing industry, even though they do not wear military ranks or receive recognition in the media. When the fishing season comes, the boats leave the port in silence, as if it were a familiar ritual. The sea breeze blows through the hair, the salty smell clings to the clothes, and the sound of the fishing line whistles when it is lowered into the deep water. All emotions of joy and sadness, winning and losing, gain and loss, are left behind, because once on board, there is only one goal: to find fish. The search can last hundreds of nautical miles, but the fishermen never falter. Each tuna pulled up is a testament to their courage, a response to many days and nights struggling with the sea. And so, year after year, from father to son, longline tuna fishing continues, symbolizing the special relationship between humans and the ocean, a relationship that is both challenging and filled with respect, sacrifice, and unspeakable passion. When night falls on the seaport, where tuna fishing boats anchor to rest after a long journey, the yellow lights from the cold storages, from the small restaurants by the port, from the refrigerated trucks waiting to pick up their goods, all create a special scene, peaceful, but full of the echoes of the ocean. On the deck, a few fishermen are